Well, everyone, it's time for us to go ahead and take a look at the iPhone 14 Pro and compare it against the iPhone 6 Plus, or 6S Plus for that matter, and see which specific phone you should go and pick up. Now, obviously, the 14 Pro is a better one. If you want to pick up the 14 Pro, links will be down in the description. You can get them from there. You can help support the channel at the same time. Now, side by side, you can definitely tell there are some key differences between these. Now, the reason I'm comparing them is mostly because people still use the 6S Plus, and they want to see how the 6S Plus compares against the 14 Pro. Now, the iPhone 6S Plus came out back in 2015, and personally, I do think this was a pretty impactful iPhone. In fact, I would probably argue the iPhone 6S series was probably one of the most impactful iPhones of all time. On the front, we had a 5.5-inch IPS panel. I keep wanting to say Super Retina, but it's an IPS panel on the front, and it wasn't really that bad of a panel. You know, it was pretty decent at that time in 2015, 7 years ago. We had pretty thick bezels on the top and bottom compared to nowadays. We have the home button with Touch ID. Like I always say, I love Touch ID, but this is a pretty big amount of bezel around it. On the iPhone 14 Pro, on the other hand, we have a much better design. This is a way newer design than the iPhone 6S Plus. We have a 6.1-inch Super Retina XDR OLED panel. Now this panel, like I said before, looks so much better than the iPhone 6S Plus. You have very thin bezels. You have very thin bezels around the whole entire display, but you also have the dynamic island up top. So this is cool if you're into it personally. It's not really that big of a deal, but it's a cool thing if you're interested in it. You have basically like a little notification panel. Most of you have probably seen it by now. Some of you probably forgot about it even if you own this phone. So I think it's cool, but personally I think the 6S Plus, still iconic design, but the 14 Pro still is way better for sure. Now, in terms of the rest of the body, there are some key differences here for sure. So on the side, you can see right here, the 6S Plus does have a curved side to it a little bit. Where the iPhone 6 Plus also has the volume buttons right here, the iPhone 14 Pro has this metallic reflective side to it. So that definitely looks far better in my opinion than what the iPhone 6S Plus has. So definitely, in my opinion, looks so much better for sure. You also have a thicker phone on the iPhone 14 Pro as far as I can see. On the bottom, we have a lightning ports on both these devices too, which is really cool. So I feel like Apple's going to switch to USB-C very soon. You have the speaker grill. You do have a headphone jack on the iPhone 6S Plus. So that might be something some people are interested in. And on the back, we have a very interesting setup as well. So to give you some perspective, the iPhone 6S Plus with its single camera setup on the top left compared to the triple camera setup of the iPhone 14 Pro, look at how much bigger the camera module is on the iPhone 14 Pro. That's going to lead you into getting better photos, better lighting, better just everything across the board. So although this may seem like a small difference, it is a really big difference when it comes down to it. So definitely keep that in mind at the back of your head. Now on the iPhone 6S Plus side, we do have this silver back, so it's just aluminum. Feels still very, very premium. For how old this phone is, it still feels like a very premium device. 14 Pro on the other hand, we have a frosted glass back. This is very awesome that we have this type of back on this type of phone. It is very premium, it feels really, really good in the hand, and that is another big advantage that we have on something like the iPhone 14 Pro over something like the iPhone 6S Plus in this specific example. So, on top of that, we're also getting some really cool features. IP certification on the 14 Pro. You're getting wireless charging. You're getting MagSafe right here. You're getting crash detection, emergency SOS satellite mode, dual eSIM. You're getting a SIM card tray on the iPhone 6S Plus, which is really important. You're also getting 5G. You're getting tons of features on the iPhone 14 Pro that the iPhone 6S Plus doesn't really have. So, from my experience, that's a big thing to keep in mind. So when it comes down to it, you're definitely getting a way better phone pretty much in every single area than the iPhone 14 Pro. And there's not even a comparable thing with the iPhone 6S Plus in my opinion, which a lot of newer phones may have. Now with the 6S Plus as well, it's been discontinued with software for a little bit of time. So with the 6S Plus, you're pretty much outdated when it comes down to it. You're not really going to be getting that next generation of software from this type of phone. So iOS 16 has not came out for this phone, is not going to be getting it. So what does that mean? Well, essentially the future of iOS on this iPhone is only going to be stuck on iOS 15. So it may not be a big deal to some people, but for me personally, I would love to see my iPhones get, supported with the next version of software. And with the 6S Plus, we are not getting it. The 14 Pro, though, is just getting started with software updates. So this iPhone is going to be lasting a very long amount of time. So if you're somebody who wants to buy an iPhone 14 Pro, you're going to be getting a long supported phone from this one for sure. So that kind of covers it up in this standpoint as well. Now let's go and do a speed comparison between both these phones. The iPhone 14 Pro has that Apple A16 Bionic chip inside of it with 6 GB of RAM, but the iPhone 6S Plus has that Apple A9 chip inside of it with 2 GB of RAM. So let's go see which one's the faster one between both. Okay, there we go. Hopefully I didn't hit the camera there. You can see all the apps are clear on the background. So let us get into it. Phone calls 3, 2, 1. iPhone 14 Pro definitely faster. Music 3, 2, 1. 14 Pro I think again is the faster one there. So we're going to go to settings 3, 2, 1. Even an app like settings is faster on the iPhone 14 Pro. Let's do App Store 3, 2, 1. So this one is not connected to the internet, so we'll just kind of have to let this one in the background. Clock 3, 2, 1. I think again the 14 Pro is the faster one. Let's do Mail 3, 2, 1. Again, iPhone 14 Pro is the faster one there. Hopping out of this one, let's go and get into Calendar 3, 2, 1. Two different pop-ups, but still probably faster on the iPhone 14 Pro. Camera 3, 2, 1. Okay, very interesting type of setup there. Let's go and take a photo. 3, 2. Totally mess that one up too. Let's go and open up that photo. 3, 2, 1. Still faster on the iPhone 14 Pro for sure. Hopping out of this one, let's get into Photos 3, 2, 1. Again, faster experience on the iPhone 14 Pro as well. Getting out of this one, we do have Genshin Impact on both these phones, which is very interesting. So let's look this game up. 3, 2, 1. Now this is a massive game. It's definitely going to be a long time to load up on both these phones comparatively, but the iPhone 14 Pro is definitely going to be the one that's probably going to be the faster one when it comes down to it. You can see right here, the iPhone 14 Pro is the faster one, and this is something that's really cool. When you have a phone like the iPhone 14 Pro, it's going to be a much faster loading phone in every single area, and this is another classic case. I think the iPhone 6s Plus is still an okay performing phone, but definitely it's not even close. The iPhone 14 Pro is the faster one. We could load up a bunch of these other applications too, but at the end of the day, the iPhone 14 Pro is the far faster performing one than the iPhone 6s Plus when it comes down to it. Now in the camera department, this is another very interesting thing. So like I mentioned before, you are getting a massively big difference here. The iPhone 6s Plus, this in my opinion was a really big upgrade from the previous iPhone. You were getting 4K for the first time on the back, it's a wide angle lens on the back, kind of not that great of a camera on the front either, but at that time it was a big upgrade. With the iPhone 14 Pro, wide ultra-wide telephoto lens, 4K 60 on the front and the back of the iPhone 14 Pro. This is definitely the far better camera, but you do have to give the iPhone 6s Plus a lot of credit for when this iPhone first came out. Like I mentioned, this was the first iPhone to bring 4K, at all. It was the first time we saw like a megapixel increase in a long time. And although this thing is still only stuck at like one sensor with its wide angle lens, I still think this is a fairly impactful camera when it first came out. Although nowadays it definitely isn't as great of a camera. A lot of the hardware of these cameras, like as you can see from mine, it's kind of grainy. It doesn't really look that great. Even in good lighting outside, it doesn't really look that great either anymore. But I will say, still, you're getting standard video mode, you're getting photo mode, you're getting, a lot of other good stuff here. But if you have a phone like the iPhone 6s Plus, you pretty much know that this camera really isn't going to be that great of a camera anymore. With the iPhone 14 Pro, this is probably one of the best cameras you can buy in this day and age, if I'm being completely honest. This is a very good camera phone, for best camera in terms of an iPhone. It's a very solid sensor. You have 15x zoom, you have that 0.5x zoom as well, which is really nice, and you have everything in between. You have video mode, action mode, you have cinematic mode, you have portrait mode. You have a ton of features built in with this camera, which kind of future-proofs this phone even more so. So that is a really big thing that I love about this phone, that we have that type of capability. So when it comes down to it, I think it's quite obvious, at least in my opinion, the iPhone 14 Pro is a really good camera. It's a really good phone. It's a really good battery life, really good performance, really good everything. I mean, this phone has everything you'd ever want. With the iPhone 6s Plus, the only reason I would kind of even consider buying this phone is if you want to buy it and maybe resell it, or you need a side device. Other than that, I would probably recommend going up to the 14 Pro. That's what makes the most amount of sense to me. I think getting something like the 6s Plus nowadays doesn't make too much sense, but the 14 Pro is definitely there for you if you want to go and upgrade at some point. So that kind of covers it up. If you have any other thoughts or questions, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.